Hello and welcome to the Foundry Roundtable, podcast exclusively covering the Foundry for Star Trek Online. Except for today, where we'll be continuing our trek through classic Star Trek games. And this week we're going to take a trip all the way back to 2001 to talk about Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. I, of course, am Drogon1701, and with me are my usual co-hosts, DuncanIdaho, Markhawkman, and our game player and cameraman for today, Greendragoon.
So I have kind of an interesting thought is, what were you all doing back in 2001?
Well, I was playing Elite Force, that's for sure.
Oh, I was playing Halo.
If I remember right, 2001 was the year I was really getting into video game modding, and I actually back then I was actually going and taking Game Boy Color games and making lists of game codes for them, or game breaker codes, whatever.
Well, let's see. Where was I actually?
Switched to Diablo 2 modding, and yeah.
Where was I actually in 2001? I would have been in high school.
Oh, wow.
Early high school.
Would have been in my first or second year of college. I was poor then, so I probably didn't get the game until a little later.
Yeah.
I was still in middle school.
Youngin.
Yeah. Little youngin, still playing Halo, though.
Well, I remember Halo, of course. It was a game that was started as a PC game, and then they switched it over to the Xbox because they needed a sort of flagship game for that system. And then it only came out on PC much later.
And the PC version was one of the first games that I experienced any sort of modding community. Jedi Knight's Dark Forces 2 was the kind of the first major shooter I got into. A little bit earlier than that. But yeah, Halo's development was quite funny because they basically built it in 8 months. Like in a tearing rush, and certain things got completely broken at the last minute, and they had no ability to fix them. And we're still haunted by those ghosts today in that franchise. But that's a separate topic.
The irony of game development at the time, or not irony, but the funny things about game development at the time is you released your game and it got one patch, and that was it. You were done. If there were bugs in it still, then there were bugs in it still.
That's just I remember there was such a fuss about Halo 2. Like Halo 1 never got updated, but Halo 2 got an update and it was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was one of those things that happened when it made the transition from console games to PC games. Because PC games, patches are something relatively easy. Console games, the old school console cartridge games, you don't patch those.
There's no patch.
Yeah, Halo had Xbox Live. Halo 2 had Xbox Live at that point, but I think the main delivery device for us was a second disc. I mean, the Halo 2 multiplayer pack.
Well, and of course, Voyager Elite Force, which we're going to be playing tonight, got an expansion, essentially, which also included a big bug fix patch, which you could download independently if you didn't buy the expansion. Which included, among other things, Jerry Ryan's voiceover. It was not in the original game. In the original version of the game that was released in 2001, she was played by somebody else. 709 was. And it wasn't until the expansion pack they got Jerry.
Was Jerry's voice the only thing in the expansion, or was there actual content?
Oh no, there was actual content. There was, for one thing, something that we've requested for Star Trek Online any number of times, which is Captain Proton.
I never knew that there was a expansion.
Yeah, there were several holodeck simulations that you could play, and one of them was a Captain Proton mission. It was all in black and white, and you got the old style laser beam weapons, and we're fighting against the old style guys, and yeah, it was pretty funny. And then it also included this thing, which is basically a thing that had you do a little series of quests that it was basically an excuse to run around the whole ship. And obviously not the whole ship, because, we're talking about the primitive days of gaming here. 17 years ago is pretty primitive. And so they couldn't model the whole thing, but they had a lot of decks. They had, it was actually a lot of the stuff you see throughout the main game. And it had, the bridge, it had the engineering, it had cargo bays, it had the mess hall, it had everybody's quarters and all that kind of stuff that you saw. Sick bay.
So a little bit more than we've got now.
Yeah, actually, I get such a sense of nostalgia when I go through Cryptic's new, amazingly accurate version of the Voyager interior. Because it's like, this is just like Elite Force. I'm running around the ship again. 17 years later.
Running around the ship again, firing a phaser anywhere you want.
Mm-hmm.
I remember finding
so what you're doing. Go for it. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I remember running around exploring in one of the levels and finding my character's quarters, and then seeing that there was a mirror in there where I could actually see my character, which I thought was just such the coolest thing ever at the time.
This is one of those games where your nostalgia sort of makes it seem like it looked better than it did.
Yeah.
Because when you go back into it, you're like, oh my god, why did I think this was, particularly the character models? It's like, why did I think this was cutting edge? Well, because of course at the time it was cutting edge.
No, we're kind of arguing with Farktoid on Twitter about this, but I think the game had enough going for it that it kind of glosses past its lack of graphics.
I consider this among the truly great Star Trek games of all times.
It's funny. I don't know if you wanted to tell everyone about what you were telling us about the article. That.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I have in front of me, and I apparently I never really understood why I've kept these, but apparently it was for this very moment. I have the July 1999 edition of PC Gamer in my hand, which the cover story was entitled 7 New Star Trek Games. Leading the way is Voyager Elite Force. So I've got this, and we'll have various insights from that. It was obviously made during the development cycle of Elite Force back in '99.
I just find it funny that they had 5 Star Trek games in development all around the same time.
Yeah, it was this huge sort of almost like a golden age of Star Trek gaming, actually. Because so I'll talk about the other ones here real quick. The other ones were there was a tie-in game for Insurrection. It was more like an adventure game, so you'd probably like it, Drew.
So are we talking about Hidden Evil?
Point and click adventure. What's that?
Are we talking about Hidden Evil? Was that the name of the game?
No, it was just called Insurrection.
Huh.
Pretty sure. Yeah. I remember it did not end up getting a lot of great reviews when it came out. Let's see. The other one, of course.
The movie.
I like it, but not a lot of other people.
It was okay.
Honestly, I think Star Trek Insurrection was the best of the TNG movies and better than most of the
fun.
TOS movies.
That's, ask 4 Star Trek fans about one of the movies, you'll get 10 opinions.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so the other one we got here is Armada, which of course
Classic.
We all know and most of us quite like. A great RTS game. Also one of those ones where the graphics look better in your memory than they do when you actually go back and play it. And then they had 4... they had 4 ones that they just covered briefly, which were Klingon Academy, which is a follow-up to Starfleet Academy, which is not one I have played. New Worlds, which was a ground-based RTS, which also I have not played. And then Birth of the Federation, which was kind of a turn-based strategy game, sort of like Empire-level strategy, which I have played and played quite a lot. And then the original Starfleet Command. Most of these were 2000.
Yeah, that originally Starfleet Command game. Yeah. That was one of those ones where, like, I think it's probably aged worse than Armada has, because I can kind of look back to an Armada screenshot. It's like, oh, okay, that looks okay. But I just remember going back to the Starfleet Command 3, not even just 1, but 3. And after playing Star Trek Online a little bit, and it was one of those ones where I just like, I can't even do this for nostalgia's sake. I loved you back in the day, but I just can't.
I've actually always felt like Star Trek Online is kind of the spiritual successor to that series.
Oh yeah,
because the space gameplay feels very similar.
You've got the sealed quadrants.
And you had sort of the interim step of Legacy.
You know, one game for me that I keep thinking back about, because it's a computer game that I played a long time ago, and it's one of the first actual proper computer games that I played on my own computer, is this old game called Montezuma's Return. And when I look back on it, the things I utterly hated about the game were things that I would still utterly hate about it today. And half the things I liked about the game would bore me.
It's a good illustration of how your tastes sort of change over time.
Mm-hmm.
You might go back to something and think, oh, God, how did I ever like this?
But I did learn things from playing the game that I apply to a map exploration in Star Trek Online, because one of the big things with that game was it's one of those adventure exploration games that happens to have combat tacked onto it. So the primary focus of the game is running around maps, exploring every single dark corner there is, and finding everything there is to find.
Well, you hit on something that, of course, that we always plan to do when we're going to be doing this series of classic Trek LivePlay episodes, which is, kind of bringing back things that we can apply to the Foundry. So, with that in mind, Dragoon, if you want to get us started.
All right. You will not believe the kind of magics that had to go into getting this to run and display on the stream.
Point out this game goes way back to the Quake 3 engine.
True. All right, are we all set to start?
We are all set.
You can probably afford to run it on normal difficulty. Any preference on the male or female option?
I always did female, but then when Elite Force 2 came along, and they forced you into the male choice.
All right. Well, I'm not going to break from future tradition.
Future canon.
On Stardate 48315.6, the USS Voyager was transported beyond our control, 70,000 light-years across the galaxy to the Delta Quadrant. There, without aid from Starfleet, we began our 70-year journey home. In our numerous encounters, we came into contact with many dangerous and violent species. Having a limited crew with no chance of reinforcements, we determined that we needed a specialized team to handle the more dangerous situations. Tuvok, Voyager's chief of security, assembled an elite force of security personnel named the Hazard Team. Ensign Monroe is second in command of this uniquely trained team. Equipped with 7 of 9's experimental anti-Borg weapon, the Infinity Modulator, the Hazard Team has beamed to a Borg cube on a dangerous mission. However, the team was quickly overwhelmed, and the iMod is now in the hands of the Borg. Separated from the rest, Monroe is attempting to rescue the team.
We have an Infinity Modulator in stow. It's called the TR-116.
Well,
Can you guys
we also,
hear?
We also have the fractal remodulator, but those things are a pain to get and no one bothers with them anymore.
Monroe to Tuvok. I've been cut off from the rest of the hazard team.
All sorts of people have requested
Mr. Monroe,
Cryptic to
we have
make some
isolated your
sort of
team
iMod.
members' life signs. They appear to be trapped in the tertiary power modulation chamber. Rescue them at any cost.
Acknowledged.
I say the graphics don't look too bad,
Tertiary
but
what?
I'm used to, for old PC games, going back to something called Shogo, which was less technical, but a little bit more
Ensign,
insane.
I've uploaded your mission objectives and tactical information. Review it now before proceeding.
It really
Right.
was pretty good for the time.
Yeah. Like the nice weapon effects. Got something going on there.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a
it
lot
was
of geometry.
yeah, this was definitely cutting edge for its time, and obviously it had to run on a Xbox. The PCs that had voodoo cards.
Well, one thing that has always amused me greatly about some of these older games is that in some of the games there's actually far less weapon effects than it looks like there are, because they do things like stretching and distorting an image file to make the image file look different.
So can everyone hear okay? And I had enough chance to really test this properly ahead of time.
I
Not too
hear
loud?
beeping.
It's a
That
little
sounds good.
quiet, but it's okay.
Alright, well I didn't want to blow it. Skype can be
We
a
don't
little
need
weird,
it to
so.
be too loud. Since
Big shooting happened.
we're sitting here with our headphones on, of course.
I'm having Jedi Knight flashbacks now.
There was, of course, what is it, Jedi Knight 2 and Jedi Academy that were also made with the Quake 3 engine.
Also Outcast.
Pretty close to around about this time.
Yeah.
Some excellent old games.
So one of the cool things about this is that my phaser I have here, I have a limited number of shots before the Borg adapt. So, especially if you don't have the infinity modulator, you have to be careful, because you can.
So what you
screw
do,
yourself.
the strategy is to find the distribution nodes and shoot those, because the Borg in the area will shut down.
Yes.
Which is actually something you could finagle in a Foundry mission if you wanted to try it.
True.
Hmm.
Non-combat object.
Find an interact object and disable it, and then instead of attacking you, maybe you spawn some Borg with that are just NPCs and they just stand there and look shut down.
Yeah. Well, while the cryptic devs have the option to make real objectives where you actually destroy assets by shooting them, we don't.
Got to do it as an interact.
It's actually a very minor thing that I would like to see it added to the Foundry,
Monroe!
because
My savior. Get the IMON.
It
It's on the
adds-
table.
Now you have the IMOB.
See.
Monroe, get me out of here.
See. That's not good.
Getting your keybinds.
No, I wanted to
Accidentally
switch to
switching to
the
another
phaser so I could show the Borg adapting, and
It
yeah,
just
then
started
they
getting
pinned
adapt.
me. They tried to assimilate me.
Thanks, Monroe. Let's go.
Foolish individual. That's what you get for trying to show things off. It's all a trap. We have these specialized abilities to make you not use the instant wind gun.
It really is kind of an instant win gun. Versus the Borg.
Thanks, Monroe.
Oh, it's only
Isn't
an
that
I'll get
what
us
instant.
all
was
back
saying?
to the ship.
What was that all about? Behind you!
I like how they do a little pirouette when they die.
Watch your back!
Very expressive.
What was that all about?
Well, that's what happens when the Borg assimilates a traveling ballet troupe.
There's another one!
That said, the iMod isn't actually all that powerful of a weapon. It takes a couple of shots to.
Hey, a
Take him
blue
down.
force field? I don't see a dis node here. Must have a special power source.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong, but that It's voiced by Tom Wilson, is it not?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Who is Tom Wilson?
I played Biff in Back to the Future.
Oh.
Let me find out.
Okay. Still haven't seen
I know,
that movie.
he sounds familiar, and it's driving me nuts.
I'd come with
Let's see
you
if
if
we
I
can
had
find
an
the cast list.
iMod, but let's say I stay
Trek
here at
Voyager.
home.
Of course, after the patch, of course, it had all of the principal actors, all the way down to Neelix and the Doctor.
Honestly, I think that's one of the things that really sells this game, is that they did get the whole cast, and it really does kind of feel like you just kind of walked into an episode of Voyager.
If you're not back in 5
Yeah.
minutes, I'm not going in after you.
Now, did they use elements of this for the Star Trek Voyager arcade shooter?
I have seen those, I've never actually played it.
I played it, and I actually got a huge way through it, but basically by kind of exploiting it, by basically using one hand to hold the gun, the other hand just to go back and forth and hit the trigger. Basically, any phaser becomes an assault rifle.
The force field step. What the?
But yeah, I just can't remember that well enough to say if they reused assets of that to make the other one. Or basically, yeah.
You are correct. Tom Wilson does voice Kuman Eastman, who is a very Biff-like character, it has to be said.
Yeah, like all the roles I see him in, he kind of ends up being some kind of a jerk or a bully. I think you told me once that you've never played the Wing Commander games, but he plays a character in the later Wing Commander games.
I can't say I recognize anybody else from the voice cast other than the main characters. However, crewman Chell, who joins the Hazard team here, is actually a character from Voyager, appeared on 2 episodes, and is played by the same actor.
Neat.
So
I like
if you watch
combat strategy here of aiming for the crotch.
I don't think this game had like really sophisticated hitboxes or anything like that, so center mass is your best idea. I don't think you can do headshots, man.
I don't think they were quite that advanced yet.
Unreal Tournament had that type of thing going on.
And I think Unreal Tournament was pretty contemporary with this game. I think that was 99, wasn't it?
Yeah, 99, 98. Let's see.
Different engine, of course.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there was a lot more sort of...
It's you had these like 2 competing engines back then, and one was Quake, and the other was Unreal.
Half-Life. It's
And the
Quake and
Half-Life
Half-Life.
engine.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they really used Unreal for much else at that point. I think they really started going for that, I think in the next generation on these games.
You've done all you
I think, what was it, Unreal 3 had a lot of licensed games with that engine, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, especially during the Xbox 360 era, there was a lot of stuff that used the Unreal Engine.
You have a little platforming fun here where you got to find the right little thing to carry you up to the next platform. That's the thing about the Quake 3 engine. A lot of bottomless pits.
Nintendo hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that when I think back to that Montezuma's Return game, that was actually one of the things that I don't like about it, is that the game actually had a lot of rooms where if you fall, you die. And in one of the maps, it was actually possible to kick enemies into the pit and have the enemy not die, because apparently enemies were not coded to take full damage. See, if you kicked enemies into lava, the enemies would die because the lava would burn them up, but they wouldn't actually die from falling.
So the guys in the chat room are commenting on the elevators, which, obviously you see a lot of elevators in this game, which is something that the Stowe engine is not really equipped for.
Yeah,
And
not well.
Even the few times that they've done it, they've sort of had to fake it.
The most vivid example is that installation, whatever, that you find in Memphis, where, you go inside, you go inside an elevator, the elevator takes you down deep under the desert, or not. Actually, it's making the walls of the elevator are going up as you ascend, to give you the illusion of movement. And in reality, your movements don't change.
I think, for me, it was looking at Halo was one of the first games that really, really, really went on elevators hard.
Yeah.
Like, some games had moving objects like this, but just showing that technical ability became a big thing, and sort of starting with these types of games and then moving on.
The three-dimensional level design.
That was actually something that Montezuma's Return did rather well, is that they actually had stuff like moving platforms and stuff. One of the more frustrating puzzles, you have to jump between moving platforms in a situation where the moving platforms go under things, and you have to get off of them before they go under things.
Monroe to Voyager.
I'll tell you what,
The hazard
back in the day, I was playing this on the computer I had then.
Acknowledged, Ensign. See if you can locate the
The
control console
loading
for the force
screens took
field.
forever. Today they're almost instant.
Yeah, I've actually seen games that didn't have a proper method of controlling the speed of the game. So if you try to play them on a more modern computer than the one that they were designed to be played on, they just run super fast.
Well, I'm literally out of weapons energy, which is a good thing. The level's almost over.
Base.
Gotta pay attention to your ammo. Which, of course, ammo is something that, really never appeared in Star Trek much.
Hey, be careful.
But, it's one of those things where gameplay trumps canon.
It's not working. You don't have time for this. No, wait! Don't!
Yeah,
And we died.
a variation of something that J. Michael Straczynski once said is that weapon power cells are as strong as the plot demands.
Is it just me, or does
Mr.
Tuvok
Monroe,
look a little bit like
your
Andros from
tactical
Star Fox?
approach was, shall we say, tactless.
I think it's the years.
He's very angular.
All right.
Yeah, it's the ears
Report to
on that
debriefing.
resolution of character model.
I'm
Nice
currently
going,
staring at a
Monroe.
picture of what appears to be a Bolian, which, at first glance, I thought it might be a Hirogen just because of the weird shape of the Bolian's
Sure.
head.
Yeah, everything still looks pretty good. I think it's just Tuvok I don't think comes off as well with the ears on the side.
Well,
Some of the
one-
other canon characters fare
Your
better.
reckless decision.
Well, one of the
has caused
distinctive
death
features of
you and your
Bolians is how
teammates.
smooth
You have failed.
their makeup is, and in this game, it's not smooth.
Had you followed standard hazard team procedures, you may have survived the simulation.
We
and
get a nice
achieved
corridor
your mission
walk and talk
objectives.
that's very very Star Trek. Or West Wing.
Procedure.
And did you
Speak
get griped
freely,
at by
Ensign.
Tuvok, which, yeah, he did that.
Deck 4.
It's kind of fun because suddenly here you are in a Star Trek episode and you're working for Tuvok.
There wasn't any way I could have possibly rescued them.
Someday, Mr.
And we've
Monroe,
got
you may be
suspenders.
called upon to do the impossible. Consider this to be your personal Kobayashi
We make some good
Maru.
facsimiles of the hazard suit in the
Red alert!
in
All
stone.
hands to battle stations.
Yeah, some of the
Computer,
tactical kit
reroute
pieces.
turbolift to the bridge.
Yeah, some pretty nice looking pre-rendered
Status.
cutscenes for the exterior stuff.
Captain, we have reports of secondary EPS conduits on decks 8 and 9 rupturing.
Warp drive is offline.
Don't worry, I have a player character. We're fine.
What happened?
We responded to a distress signal from a
I have a
derelict
user.
vessel and it opened fire.
Tuvok, they don't respond to hails. Maybe we need to send a clearer message.
User.
Target their weapon systems and disable.
Yeah, that's a fun
Firing
reference.
phasers.
Okay, Janeway doesn't look
Phasers had
particularly
no
good
discernible
either.
effect.
Here, it's the hair that looks.
Aft shields are down, Captain. Rerouting auxiliary
7
powers.
is
Season
also
3 or season 4 hair, I guess.
Captain, I'm getting reports of extensive damage on decks 9 and 10. We're not going to survive another hit.
Photon torpedoes, full spread.
Torpedoes away.
Gonna fire 4 torpedoes. You might as well fire a full spread.
It's
He'll make
Tuvok,
it go,
so he's probably
right?
got torpedo spread 3, right?
Well, he in the mission where you get to use him as a bridge officer, Tuvok actually has that fire everything power. What are those random bits of debris
Everyone
floating
all
in the
right?
background?
I am undamaged.
Well, that's the mystery.
What just happened?
Captain, we seem to have been torn from normal space. I think we've been pulled through some sort of isodimensional rift.
Where are we?
Wait, isodimensional would be that's basically we're moving into an equivalent dimension.
Offline. Until repairs are made, it may be difficult to ascertain exactly where here is.
One thing I always liked about this game was the music.
Guessing they didn't want to pay for royalties for the actual Voyager theme.
You know, I couldn't tell you the why behind it, but obviously they had somebody do music for it.
Even though we use all the same visuals.
And actually, one of the things that they put out with the expansion pack was the soundtrack. Probably the first game soundtrack I ever had.
I actually picked up one of those compilation albums that had both Stowe's theme and this game's theme.
Technically, for me, it was the Jedi Knights Dark Forces 2. If you actually just put the game disc in a CD player, you could actually just play the soundtrack.
Remember them doing some
Those
of those.
were all reused from the music, from the movie music.
Well, a lot of games that was simply their solution for being able to have the audio in the game in the first place, is that they would basically just like stick MP3 files on the game disc and choose an MP3 file to play while the game runs.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here looking at all these credits, and you wonder where these people are now, 17 years later.
They're either still making video games or retired.
Because, you know, because I'm sure Raven Software is long
Captain's
gone.
log, stardate 53854.7. Voyager was attacked by an unknown force and transported to some kind of starship graveyard, whereabouts unknown. The ship is heavily damaged. Communications, propulsion, and other systems are offline. Until repairs are done, we're utterly helpless. Stranded. Let's get this ship back together, Chakotay. Get damage control online. Harry, find out what you can about those other ships, and exactly
One thing you
where
can
we
really
are.
appreciate about this game is
Aye, Captain.
the attention to detail that they put into the
Captain,
environments.
There's a containment leak in engineering. If we can't get it sealed,
Within
we're
the
going to
engine
have
that
a
they
warp
had,
core breach.
Ensign Monroe,
looks
you're
just like
wearing
the
a
show.
hazard suit.
Yeah,
Get
especially
down to
the
engineering
lighting
and
too.
help
That's
them on a
really
seal that
impressive
leak.
for a game like this. I'm sure it's just all mostly in the texture work.
Captain, we're drifting. Attempting to compensate with maneuvering thrusters.
This is also a game that was very easily moddable.
I'm having a hard time getting any sensor information on
Turbo
those.
lift
Well, isn't it
controls
basically a
malfunctioning.
mod
Initiate
anyways?
vocal command using
Communications
manual
are back
interface.
online.
Kind of like a mod.
Deck
'cause
11,
everything
engineering.
in the Quake 3 engine used the same basic underpinning architecture.
Oh yeah, and so it was really easy. There were tools and everything.
Sir, here's the damage control progress for the aft side of the deck.
Good. Who's fixing the data shunt here?
Showers and Chell, sir.
Good. And Renner's on the Jeffries tubes.
Kind of want to go around and explore. So yeah, I mean,
maps.
Obviously as good as graphics got at the time, but I do think it's a pretty faithful recreation.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I have to say that one of the things that impressed me most in the Montezuma's Return game is the way they made things shiny. They'd never had any actual true reflections in the game, but there were all sorts of things in the game that would have like specular highlights on them that changed as they moved.
Yeah, I was just going to say you had a very limited...
You had to activate the thing there.
I hit the thing.
So you've just found one of the little scripted bits that pop up throughout the games, or throughout the game. You can choose, depending on your timing there, to save that guy or put up the force field before he gets there.
EPS conduits are gonna blow! Hit that panel and bring up a containment field!
Or if you do it wrong, everyone dies.
Oh, didn't save him.
Yeah, the timing's really hard on that.
Or you just heartless and cruel.
Well, you know, we got a redshirt quota to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
I lost to you at poker last week. This is what you get.
Sorry, Monroe.
Who's laughing now?
Severed here.
Poor crewman Renner.
Shut off.
Hey, we're getting a
we
power
hardly
surge
knew.
here.
Monroe, quick! Hit that panel and shut off this relay.
That was close.
Chill. I need to get this containment field down.
There's an override in the Jeffries tube just down that corridor.
I've already killed one person. I'm not afraid to kill you.
Is it if you don't hit that console in time, it explodes in that other guy's face.
The number one danger in serving a Starfleet vessel is computer systems exploding.
Some books, believe it or not, attempted to explain why the consoles explode, but the explanation that particular book gave was actually dumber than the explanation that it's just a random system power failure. One of the explanations is that the system's actually used as an integrated component, some sort of a liquid cooling substance that, if containment was breached, was actually highly acidic and would eat through the computer circuitry. Yeah, that's just one of those things. So, like, no, that's dumber than simply not having surge protectors on your ship.
Surge protector technology was lost in World War III. It was never reinvented.
Either that, or they, with replicators, they can make as much fossil fuel as they want. So what we have instead of, basically everything's powered by a small little internal combustion engine. With CO2, it just gets fed back into the warp core as matter.
Wow.
In real life, we actually do have a form of liquid cooling material that bursts into flames if exposed to air. But, you know, it's not acidic. And in theory, if you were to cover it with a non-flammable substance, it would be completely inert. NAC. It's a liquid alloy of sodium and potassium. They're the two solid metals that make it up, are flammable when exposed to air, and, well, the difference between them and NAC is that NAC splatters.
Warning.
So Raven Software, who made this game, made all sorts of other games. Let's see, they made Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy.
Ooh.
X-Men Legends and the sequel. Quake 4. Wolfenstein from 2009. Quite a number of Call of Duty It looks like that was just sort of minor work on Call of Duty stuff. And then it says most of the developers largely responsible for creating the Heretic and Hexen games left to form Human Head Studios, which is still going today. Which, of course, a lot of the Star Trek games at the time were under Activision.
In progress. You need to get in there and shut it down.
Publisher.
There are two things you have to do, so listen carefully. First, cut the power relays on the main floor, then go to the upper level and decouple the dilithium matrix. Wait a minute.
Activision actually had a pretty good track record for making games prior to doing Star Trek games.
Find those terminals. There isn't much time before we lose containment and have to eject the core.
It was long before the days when it became Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Hurry, Monroe. I'm not sure how much time you've got left.
It's like kind of one of those things where they get bought out, and then Activision
Monroe,
is just a name on the package.
You're going to need the access code to cut the power relays. Go to the access code
station. It was actually one of the first third-party publishers. Before then, you made the game and you published it yourself.
Power relays have been cut.
Or the game system published it for you.
Warp core breach in 30 seconds.
Okay, so here's one of the funny notes from the PC Gamer article. There's a caption under a picture of engineering that says, engineering is not the smartest place to be running around with a phaser unless you want to trigger a warp core breach. Which,
good job, Ensign.
if you fire a phaser at the warp core in this game, nothing happens.
Aw.
No problem, Lieutenant.
That's a shame.
Okay, let's get a
could have at least tied the fail condition to what we have.
Main power back online.
Well,
give me
let's
a hand
see.
with the resonance cascade modulator.
However, Dragoon just prevented a warp core breach, so there's that.
Yeah.
Well, I would start a warp core breach, except I don't actually have a phaser at the moment.
But later you might.
This is one of the games that actually attempted to have an explanation for why you could carry so many different weapons at once, which is you had them all on a transporter buffer, and you just beamed them in when you wanted them.
Security and hazard team personnel to the loading dock.
Ensign Stats, is the coupling matrix back online yet?
Just another couple of minutes, sir.
How's it look, Justin?
Not good. The whole intermix.
I wonder if they
matrix is out of
never
whack.
tried to explain why you don't see
Engineering
the
to
hazard
bridge.
team in
The leak's
future
contained, but
episodes.
we've got some heavy damage here. I don't know how soon we'll get warp drive back online.
We all
or if we'll
died.
get it back online.
And where did they hide the...
Gotta find the turbo lift, don't you?
They hide it. There it is.
Deck 8, loading dock.
All these doors look the same.
So Evans 04111 in the chat room wants to know how long this game is, and I'm not sure I could put an hour's estimate on it, but it's about 30 levels. So it is a pretty decently lengthy game.
There are two.
Obviously, we're not going to do the whole thing tonight.
They're launching
we're just going to
energy
do
grenades. See if you
a
can
normal
eliminate them. Ready?
2-hour limit.
It's probably one of those where if you know exactly what you're doing, things are a lot quicker because you can basically just like walk up, push the button, not what button to push and when.
Subsequent playthroughs always go a lot faster.
Montezuma's return was figuring out how to kill people.
can go back out and talk to the doctor for healing if you need.
You jump in that box if I pick up that weapon.
You can also pick up the enemy's weapon.
Just a moment. You'll be fine.
There you go.
I don't remember what the key was for.
Oh, I think there was Z, zooms in.
Tuvok to Foster. We're pinned down in Cargo Bay 1. We require your immediate assistance.
Monroe, Tuvok needs help. Come with me. Move it.
And most of the characters on the Hazard team are inventions of the game, like Lieutenant Foster there.
I'm thinking of him as Locke from Halo 5.
I see the similarities. Just assume that Mike Coulter was walking around Voyager somewhere in the background of all those episodes. But actually, all kinds of works because we never met all 150 or whatever of Voyager's crew, so
yeah,
you can invent a few.
Yeah, I mean, only about 50 or so died before we.
And they got replaced with Maquis.
Breakable glass.
or whoever survived from the crew of that other ship.
They only took like 3 or 4 of those people though.
Oh no, there was a bunch. Oh no, you're talking about Equinox.
Yeah, Equinox.
Yeah, there was only one.
But not many. Because part of the actual through it actually been getting killed off.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of them.
And then more got toasted during the actual events too.
Old Titus Welliver went down with the ship.
Yeah. Although I'm a little disappointed that they didn't really sort of make that more of a continuing arc too. At least with 1 or 2 of those characters.
I'm trying to think if maybe we did see one of them after. I'm gonna look that up.
I still love how they managed to work in a Seska plot in one of the later episodes.
Tuvok to bridge. The intruders have been repelled.
Seeing holographic Seska...
It seems our situation is worse than we thought, Tuvok. Report to the
that
conference
look she got on her face when she saw 7 of 9 walk through one of her force fields. It's just one of those things where you're like, wow. Because Seska got killed off before 7 of 9 got added to the crew.
Voyager has been transported to a region of space we are not familiar with. It seems that many other disabled vessels are present here as well. We have detected an energy dampening field surrounding the area that is draining Voyager's systems of power. For the moment, we are trapped like the other ships and cannot escape.
Evans in the chat room is asking if it's been revamped for modern systems. No, I'm running an original copy.
You know, back on Earth.
It takes some doing to actually get it to
Our
run.
primary weapons and propulsion systems are offline at the moment. The captain's
Dragoon,
current
if we can
strategy
put a
is
link
to find
to
out as much as
that
we can
process
about
in our
our
show notes
surroundings
when we
while we
post
effect
this, that'd be
repairs.
So, what's the deal with our unwelcome visitors?
We do not have much information about them as of yet, Mr. Beesman. They appear to be scavengers of some sort, comprised of Klingons, humans, and Malons. With only short-range sensors operational, we have been unable to locate their vessel since it departed. However, we have detected a vessel nearby. While sensors indicate no life signs, we have detected a functioning power source on board. Our hope is that their computer systems are still operational and contain information about this area. The hazard team will transport onto this vessel and retrieve any files that are still intact.
No life signs?
Like a ghost ship.
Yeah. Boom!
While your superstitious beliefs are quite illogical,
Bolians. They're such fun-loving people.
Recommended.
I wonder if that's the same Bolian who was one of the Maquis that Tuvok had to whip into shape.
It is.
This is an information gathering mission. Minimal encounter
He appeared in
The hazard
another
team
episode
will
as
split
well.
up into 2 squads. Alpha Squad, my group, will beam into Control Room
And
A.
he was mentioned as a
Ensign
possible
Monroe
replacement
and
cook
Beta Squad will be transported to
for
Control
Helix after
Room
Helix
B.
left.
Our objective is to have at least one of the teams locate a
Well, that
functioning
Bolian guy
terminal
was
to
kind of
extract any
pudgy, so it
information we
makes
can
sense that
and
he
return to Voyager.
liked cooking.
In the unlikely case of hostile encounters, the technicians should be protected at all costs to ensure retrieval of this information. Any questions?
Sounds like a cakewalk.
See the quartermaster, Oviedo.
That wasn't a joke.
Gear up, then report to Transporter Room 1. Dismissed.
Man, data gathering? I was hoping for some action our first time out.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, really. Yeah. That's a really cool touch. They put the names on the wall locks.
I don't know. I'm surprised they managed to survive this long. I wonder where their ship
I want to put
is.
a bed in there.
Yeah, I gotta say those are some, like full-size closets almost.
I really like that they put actual maps of the decks around.
The funny thing is that a lot of those really old games, that was how you saw in-game maps. Like you would see this thing painted on the wall, and
Scavenger guns
you would
might
have
come
to
in handy.
remember it.
They used lithium crystal chips for a power source. Most ships use those crystals, so you should be able to find more to power the gun. The second trigger on it fires the energy grenades. Be careful with those. If you want, test out your weapon.
The secondary grenades really aren't very good. As I
Are
recall.
or aren't?
Are not. They don't do a lot of damage. Wait till we get the mini photon torpedo launcher to do some real splash damage. Now this is a slightly annoying part because you had to wait for your team to go to the transporter room. And they had to stop by the armory first, and they took a long time to even start moving. So
basically, it's just like this timer where you sit there, stand around, and stare at things.
Pretty much.
Yeah, probably invites you to go take a look at other parts of the ship, if that's possible.
You can go to a few corridors here.
Stare at the map until you have it memorized.
Got an away mission to perform.
Man,
Oh, yeah,
I
and
can't
there's a
believe
little,
I'm getting left behind on our first mission. And
these
an
guys had their own little mess
intelligence
hall.
gathering mission too.
Hey, relax, Ken. There'll be plenty of other missions.
Yeah, Ken. They're just saving the best for last.
Almost the forerunners of Makos, as far as a concept goes in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Ms. Durant, while we have some extra time, I thought we'd review first aid combat protocols one more time.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night,
I think I'm
and
well prepared.
you know,
I did go
things
through
to talk
extensive
about on the show
training
here
and
when we
testing
were
for
doing
this
this. And,
position.
I was
Well,
like, you know,
Let me know if you develop any nervousness.
these are all characters that are in the TNG era, so you know maybe some of them would still be around in the Stowe era. You know, maybe our player character here, Alex Monroe, maybe he's, you know, like a general in charge of the Makos or something.
You know, one
commanding general.
Well, one thing I thought of here is that we don't really know how long Bullions live. So it's possible that, you know, at least the Bullion guy is still doing this somewhere.
Could be.
Never been promoted.
One of them is a Vulcan. I forget which.
No, the humans would still, you know, be kicking. Voyager cast is.
Watch it.
Yeah, true. Voyager crewmen wouldn't be that.
They're all captains.
All set, Alex.
Every single one of them. Well, okay, 2 boxes out.
Okay, ready to transport Team 2.
Energize.
Of course, I think there's, you know, if Cryptic actually wanted to bring in a character from this game, there'd be a lot of licensing issues that would go with that, I assume.
I mean, if you think about it, they can't even get good old games on, or get this on good old games, so how in the world are they going to try and license a character from
these
it?
consoles work.
Yeah.
Look at this. I've never seen such a ship. It's almost like it's alive.
I think
That's some pretty neat alien environments.
Just give me a minute to start the download.
I'm getting it.
It's
The ship's watching you, isn't it?
I kind of like it.
You would.
Getting a bit of a
You're
Wraith
Bullion.
vibe from Stargate Atlantis.
I wonder what those
Yeah,
are.
really.
They look like fireflies.
Foster to Monroe. We've tapped into a data terminal here and started the download.
Chell found one here too. He's accessing it now.
Ambush! Get everywhere! What are these things?
What's going on over there?
Just start downloading.
Okay, I've got it.
Oh no, they found the flood.
Downloading. We'll cover you.
Actually,
The thing to learn about this level is these guys spawn only where there's a very specific little piece of technology. And you can destroy it, and everything is fine.
Foster to Monroe. Are you all right?
Yes, sir. They just stopped attacking a moment ago.
Same thing here.
I got all I could from the data terminal. Let's get out of here.
So
There's
it's
a
kind of
slight
like those
problem there.
holographic
Whatever alarm went off
generators
must
that
have raised this
Cardassian.
thing's shields. We can't contact Voyager and we can't beam out. We need to regroup. We've done some scans and it looks like there's a junction point in Section 29.
I see it.
We'll meet up there and figure out how to take these shields down. Good luck. Foster out.
Section 29 is through that door up there.
Great. How do we get up there?
This way. Watch it.
You got a health regeneration dealie.
How convenient that it's compatible with your hazard suit. So one of the things that the level design does a lot in this game is basically spawn enemies that run at you, and then spawn more enemies from that same spot and they run at you, and then more that run at you. Which is obviously something that we can do in the Foundry, since we have patrols now.
What are those things?
They seem to have an isophasic signature similar to our own transporter technology.
Transporters?
Why couldn't they just say phasic? Isophasic.
what's the difference between phasic and isophasic?
Sounds cool.
Isophasic basically means, well, it's kind of the same phase. It just doesn't change much.
Voyager was renowned for its techno battle.
Need the flak cannon from Unreal.
My favorite.
Well, they know we're here.
Not doing so hot.
They're very grabby.
Remember, it's very important to keep your ammo and your health topped up as
That's
much as
the
you
way
could.
to Section 29.
I mean, it seems like it was, in many ways, a survival-oriented combat game. Now, it's not so much about the tactics, but about how long you could go without getting killed.
Yes.
Basically red shirt combat.
Locked.
Or Doom. It does remind me of Doom.
Where's the control panel?
Well, Quake was kind of a successor to Doom.
Competitor.
Various.
Yeah,
Wasn't it a competitor to Doom?
The original might have been.
Yeah.
So, is it me, or does it kind of remind you of the Dyson Sphere tech?
A little bit.
Up there, servitor race.
Oh, it made squishing noises.
Kill it. It must be evil.
It's creepy organic technology.
There's in Unreal 2: The Awakening,
Warlocks.
there was one species that this sort of the art style also reminds me of. Very alien. Squishy a little bit.
Well, they know we're here now.
I really have to wonder if this ship was designed by a race that can fly.
So, just to confirm, those aliens are the same ones from Equinox.
Not that I know of.
No, they're actually a little bit different. The Equinox ones were sort of... Oh, it's kind of hard to describe, but yeah, these guys have
ones
like
had bigger wings. Yeah.
Yeah, they've also got 4 wings, whereas the Equinox ones, I think, had the 2 arms, a little bit sort of like connected to the body, and a little bit of a tail, I think, too. Heads were also a little different. A similar thing going on. Trans-dimensional, fly at you, and then go, nom 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 nom. I'm going to disrupt your energy pattern.
Now, the little firefly things that are going around will repair those. Enemy spawning things. Which is a nifty little concept. So basically, sort of the continuing plot of the game is, figuring out a way to get out of the little self-contained area that you're trapped in. In fact, Voyager did a similar episode later on.
It's similar to a TIS episode as well.
One of the best levels later on is you go to this... basically, all these ships have been drawn there from all over the galaxy, and you go to this space station, which is like an amalgam of mirror Terran Empire people in TOS uniforms, and Klingons, and Hirogen, or no, not Hirogen and Malon, and all kinds of crazy people like that, and it's You get to sneak around it, which was fun. Or run and gun your way through, if you wanted.
I thought that was an awesome level.
And then there's another. You go to another Borg cube, which is under attack by the Undine, which that word didn't exist yet, so they were species 8472.
Wait for me!
I believe you end up teaming up with some of these guys to get yourselves out of there.
Where are they?
Shell, are you sure this is the right place? Positive. Maybe the aliens got them. Boo!
Looks like our scans weren't quite thorough enough.
Hey, Joe! I'm gonna jump! Catch me!
Stow it, crewman. Look, Monroe, we've got to deactivate the shields before we can beam out. The data we downloaded from our console indicated there are 3 main sources we need to hit in order to do this. Your team should be able to take out the main computer core through there. We'll take out the backup power systems up here. We'll meet up at the main power core and shut it down.
Yes, sir. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go!
Good luck, Monroe. We'll meet you at the power core.
Hey, Jill, behind you!
I want to shoot that guy now.
What is it with Tom Wilson forever being saddled with douchey characters?
That's what they call typecast. So here's one thing that you can bring back to the Foundry is the idea of sending in multiple away teams and having them all do different things concurrently. I did it in one episode where you have your player captain there beaming down, doing several things, all the while you're getting transmissions from the other away teams that they're doing other things.
Say the most striking time I use it, player beams down to Andoria, where the Starfleet security chief goes and does something. It's not a specified mission or investigating, and the player is off to deliver a lecture. So, a little bit of variance on the theme, but yeah, you can use it to good effect, just to sort of build out these area of the plot, because you can reference all the stuff that's happening, but you don't actually have to build it out.
Plus it gets around that idea of a common complaint that we get about Stowe, which is, why is my fleet admiral doing everything?
Why can't he delegate?
Don't I have people for this?
Yeah, what I like most about this gun is just the fact that you have those 2 little lights on the side by your fingers. That always kind of creeped me out a little bit. Like, is it touching me?
I'm holding its nose.
Hurry away.
This is basically an energy emitted slug that we're using.
The game Prey, which kind of, in sort of a broad sense, is a little similar to the current setting we're in now. A little bit more horrifying. But my favorite weapon in that game is basically a little creature that you held like this, a little tripod. You pulled off one of its legs and threw it like a grenade. Like my Pinchy. I love my Pinchies. They're all my friends.
You know what? AI pathing in this is actually worse than Stowe.
Yeah, it's not great sometimes.
Well, one thing I remember that one person doing in a massive nostalgia moment was talking about how the AI in this one particular game, I forget what it was, like Wolfenstein 3D or something maybe, but he was talking about how the pathing was so great. And then this other person's like, no, the AI path only seems good if you go straight ahead and press blank. I have absolutely no idea where you are. Aren't actually, you're just programmed. He walks inside of the room, hit this, you know, you'll see one of them, and the other one will be too far away from you to actually shoot.
Halo was one of those games that really came out with some pretty good AI behavior. Probably wasn't too
cover. And...
Yeah, it probably wasn't too sophisticated technically. Just they kind of got the right feel for it. So even compared to like the next game, Halo 2 felt very much more rudimentary, just because the behavior didn't quite work as well with the environment. Like some of the elites in the first game, you know, really reactive. But the second game, they had a little bit of twitch behavior if you punched them. So you could basically just keep running around and punching them again and again and again. And that was kind of it. So yeah, easy to break later on. But yeah, it kind of emphasized sort of getting the feel for the behavior right a little bit more than just sort of the technical aspect. Because what they built probably wasn't too much more technically advanced. It just they had the right type of dynamics. Like the grunts running away. There's that little bit of variation.
Now, this is not actually the first first-person shooter that was made for Star Trek. There was Klingon Honor Guard, which was a year or two earlier. That was made with the Unreal Engine. It was a game that I like a lot, but it wasn't well reviewed.
We all have our guilty pleasures.
Shogo. Around the same time. It was basically an anime parody game made by the people who, I think the last thing they did was but anyway, for Shogo, it was basically a little bit like Titanfall, except a comedy. So you had giant robot sections, you had combat regular shooty sections, but the gameplay kind of really stood out. You can even go back to it nowadays. It was very much a twitch shooter, but it worked well with its format. So you play it now, and it is like, even for game format, it is really invigorating. You just walk around the corner, and you basically have to dodge a rocket. It wasn't sort of like Dark Souls hard, but it kind of had that. It sort of always pushed you forward a little bit more.
Now, another thing that we've seen here, particularly in this mission, that you can take back to your Foundry missions is the idea of sort of banter between the characters while you're on the mission. You know, people talking back and forth to each other, because, you know, it's a very realistic thing. When you're, you know, say you're out walking around with your friends, you're going to be talking back and forth.
I mean, I'll often use that to kind of try and break up exposition.
Yeah.
I use that almost as the point of my missions.
But in Stowe, you don't want to overdo it, because every dialogue you have to sort of pause.
Yeah.
It's a pause, because the window comes up and you have to read it and then dismiss it.
Looks like another of those.
Because we can't do those little
over
fly-in text things unless you want to try and do it with reach markers.
Right. Yeah, there's limited opportunities definitely to do that. What I found works best in Star Trek Online is the optional, you know, walk over to someone and speak with them dialogue.
Sure.
Because for that reach marker dialogue, you are interrupting pace, so definitely, yeah. Exposition is sort of like something that you need for your mission. That would be, I'd say, the biggest piece of recommendation there.
There's no trace of Telsia. It's as if she was completely vaporized.
There was nothing we could have done, Chell.
Alright, this time it wasn't my fault.
You better get a move on, or we might be next.
Not even a little bit?
You're in command. It's always your fault.
Is she dead, or was that teleportation stuff?
Well, given that this game is 17 years old, I think we could probably do spoilers. So, no, she was just teleported away.
Okay. I was like, yeah, that...
when we're doing these old games, we don't really have to have a spoiler policy, because, you know, they're really old.
Yeah.
There's a statute of limitations.
In fairness, there's a lot of people that have never had the opportunity to play this game. I mean, it's really hard to...
I mean, we'll try not to get, like, crazy stuff away, but, you know.
I'm also struggling to remember it, because I played this once. renting it from my local library. And yeah, I really liked it, but it wasn't one of those things like just at the time where I felt like I need to own this. It's like, hey, this is really cool, and I went through it. Okay,
it's huge.
Back to Unreal.
Looks like a space station.
This said that this did come out on other platforms. It's what, like
there's
PlayStation 2, I think?
there's
I wonder if that's their home. Hey, is that?
There's a whole lot of games where you play it, you beat it, and then you have no reason to ever touch it again.
That must be this ship.
That used to be the norm.
Yeah. Then Pokemon came out.
And then people were always talking about, replayability.
Yeah, and then it came down to multiplayer shooters and gradually introducing more skinner box type mechanics and.
Which we should talk about the multiplayer aspects, because this game does have multiplayer.
Got it.
It basically, ostensibly all takes place on the holodeck, so that's why you can kill all your, people, all your friends dressed as famous people. Because it's the holodeck. How convenient that you picked up a gun that's really effective against the enemies on this level.
Well, they probably built it to fight each other.
Well, it's called a stasis gun. I have.
Watch out.
Hack says that the PS2 version is actually compatible with the PS3. That's nice. It's not like Microsoft where you have to, beg and whatever for backwards compatibility.
Xbox One has backwards compatibility. PlayStation 4 doesn't.
Then again, the Xbox is basically a Windows computer without a keyboard, so
But it only has backwards compatibility on specific games.
Yeah, they didn't build in. Well, actually, right now,
like Mass Effect 2 and 3 do not work, but Mass Effect 1 has backwards compatibility.
They could do it for all games. The thing is publishing rights. They have to get it because it would technically count as a separate release. They have to get it for each new game. So they said that early on. It's just like, hey, we could do this for everything. Developers just need to reach out to us. So when you get something like that, where Mass Effect 1 is backwards compatible, but the others aren't, that is a purposeful decision by, in this case, EA.
Yeah.
Because Mass Effect 1, I think, was published. Well, was that
before BioWare was picked up by EA? Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we all know, EA sucks, so...
I've had my ups and downs with them over the years.
Yeah, they did a little bit of a jerk move with Borderlands, because they released the Handsome Jack collection just a little bit before they announced backwards compatibility. I think they made Borderlands 1 backwards compatible, but made the specific decision not to make the other ones, because that would undercut the sales of the collection.
I had a lot of technical problems with Origin when it first came out, to the point where I could not even play
that energy field.
Mass Effect 3 for weeks when it first came out. But it's much better than it used to be.
Although Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think recently, or not Star Wars Battlefront 2, but the Star Wars Battlefront game recently went down to server issues.
Oops. But that'll happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Happens to Stowe.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can't complain too much.
Happens to Blizzard.
Oh yeah, and Halo's...
I had to laugh at, all the people criticizing Cryptic during those DDoS attacks, saying, this is only happened to Cryptic because they have crap, they don't have net security, and all that stuff. And then it happens to Blizzard, the biggest MMO company that there ever is or will be.
Yeah. And then the Master Chief Collection for Microsoft put out, that basically spontaneously exploded when they released it for network play. Single player worked great and local. But yeah, they just had so many network problems.
I basically bought an Xbox One just to play the Master Chief Collection.
Okay, this is it.
Yeah, and that's originally what I was for the consoles for. It just when I went to college, I finally got a broadband connection, got into online shooters with Rainbow Six Vegas and Halo 2.
Sure.
Oh, the starfish is sad.
Why is the starfish sad?
Because we turned it off. We killed its
We
brain.
just shut down the backup power systems. We're on our way to the main power core.
Right. Chell and I will meet you there.
You and... Where's Telsia?
I inadvertently killed someone again.
Didn't make it.
Understood.
This is just one of those situations where I just sit here and wonder, it's like, okay, so, just how horribly are we messing up things?
Well, this is the first actual mission for the Hazard team, so yeah, you're screwing up pretty bad.
It's going about as well as the simulated Borg mission.
Foster!
We've got our unique training, which we invented on the fly. Another way of saying...
See, when we first saw this thing,
it's just you and me now.
I just like sat here and was like, okay, so you got boarded by pirates. You're looking at this ship that's just drifting through space near you, apparently abandoned, and the pirates didn't mess with it. Why didn't the pirates mess with it?
We have to.
Maybe they already have.
Come on.
Or there's something keeping them from messing with it, which we found out.
Oh, it can't be worse than pirates.
It's not empty.
To defeat the pirates, it can't be worse than pirates. What kind of logic is that? Let's send lots of juicy red shirts in.
The solution to every problem is red shirt puree.
Yes.
No one tell them they're actually replicated.
Those jellyfish, by the way, will explode if you get near them, so definitely shoot them. Oh, we want to be your friend!
No one's home. For a change.
We don't mean to explode.
We're just happy to see you.
We're just grown that way.
They're actually trying to hug you.
There also is, by the way, a sequel to this game, Elite Force 2. It takes a few of the characters, including your player characters, and kind of tells the story of what happens to them after Voyager's return.
I wasn't.
You get to go on the Enterprise E. Oops. It's not bad. It's not quite as good as this game.
What do they get
it was
for
made,
a...
I think, by a different...
different...
Was it made by a different studio? No, I think it was the same studio.
The alien ammunition mechanic. I always want one of these staples of the old shooter games. Six different weapons.
Actually, in this one, there's more like 3 different ammos, I think, across all of your different weapons.
Yeah, it's like all the Starfleet stuff uses one, and then all the alien stuff uses a different
The alien stuff uses another, yeah.
For the second Elite Force game, did they get a lot of the Voyager cast again, or did they leave more on
they got Tuvok and Tim Russ, and they got Patrick Stewart, because you go on the Enterprise E and essentially set up a new hazard. And then they also got so basically it's post Nemesis. So half the original TNG group left for other jobs. So you have Tuvok as the chief of security, and then you have Barclay as the engineer, and they got Dwight Schultz.
Open that force field up.
So that was kind of fun.
The only way it's going to stay open.
And actually, there's a really cool level early in the game where you go on a derelict Excelsior class.
We're almost out of here.
And try and find out what happened to it. Very, very atmospheric, creepy level.
Seems like a particularly annoying enemy.
Luckily, they keep ammo around like everywhere.
Yeah. It's like some little artistic creation of theirs, and we're just pumping it into guns. It's our sacred cultural crystal thing. Make more death.
You just used a 500-year-old masterpiece.
Why are you using my art to kill us?
I remember. This is actually a puzzle.
Yes. Like the little firefly things repair stuff that you shoot.
So you have to distract the fireflies to make them repair something that you don't actually need to repair?
Exactly.
But what if we just hit the energy field too? Won't we just teleport?
So Pac says that they didn't know how to do loot drops back then, and actually I think that's an intentional thing with this game, is they didn't want to have loot drops and power-ups lying around everywhere because, you don't see that in the show, do you? However, they do that in multiplayer.
Thanks for the help, Monroe. Where's Joe?
He had to stay behind, but he's okay. What happened to your team?
I think.
I thought you were all killed.
Chell's alone.
Alien things overwhelmed us, but I managed to get away. Now we've got to
that was actually one of the more interesting things about the way that they handled that with Montezuma's return, is that killing a certain percentage of the enemies on a map would give you stuff, but you didn't actually get stuff directly from killing enemies.
They made a big thing of it just because it allowed you to basically pick up any weapon in the environment. You had a good sandbox for that.
Of course, the idea in Halo, of course, is that you were a super soldier who knew how to use every weapon.
I really like that in the commercial. I just regret the fact that Halo just kind of, just took it for granted afterwards. Like, yeah, it's everything you can use.
Because you're the mother fracking Master Chief, and you know everything. At least about weapons.
Yeah, and then later it's just like, hey, it's Marines. Hey, they can drive vehicles. You know what they can do? Everything the Master Chief can do. They just don't have armor. I'm no longer special because I can use ghosts.
Isn't Halo a derivative of some other game? I forget what the name was.
Let's see. It started as Marathon, I think was.
Oh, spiritual sequel.
Made by the same people.
Well, see, because the thing is, though, in Marathon, there's this thing about how the military created 7 ultra powerful combat cyborgs, and apparently the player character is one of them, and you have to hunt down the other 6 because they went crazy and decided to take over.
Maybe the doctor
that does not carry over, but it's similar plot elements, but reshuffled in a different way, which you see in quite a lot of different franchises.
The idea what was that your player in Halo is apparently meant to be the same type of soldier as the guy from Marathon.
We've got to get up there and shut it off.
Fairly similar,
fairly similar, but they sort of really take it in a different direction. So instead of being sort of part of the program, and then it's like, well, the program's the main plot. It's basically kind of just the subplot and backstory. Just to justify why the player character is so much more powerful than the support elements. They really do the story there. And
Halo has also expanded its lore and backstory quite a lot.
Yep, so now you were never the last remaining one, you were just the one they had on hand.
Dragoon, you're getting a little low in the health there.
Oh.
Too many alien hugs.
Maybe we're exposing Dragoon's lack of gaming skill here.
Just a minute.
And this is kind of what I thought. The alien is now begging you, please don't kill my race.
Others tried to contact you, Communication methods very different.
You killed 20,000 of us.
I was actually expecting this.
We capture your people.
When we were screaming and clawing at your heads, we were actually trying to communicate.
I've been trapped here.
We're trying to directly contact with your brains. That's how you do it, right?
Very large colony ship. Our people in stasis stay alive.
A colony ship?
Must be a sleeper ship for long voyages.
Yes, long journey. New home. Never will see it now, we fear. The Forge has us. No escape.
And suddenly, conveniently, I speak English.
Sorry for the misunderstanding. For killing some of your people. We were only acting in self-defense.
Kill? Have not killed. When injured, our people return to stasis. Regenerated.
Aww.
Your people too, not killed, in stasis.
That's convenient.
Those pods.
Well, we can't lose most of the hazard team on the first mission.
Well, yeah, well, that
we
part,
can't be
but-
friends with these people. We killed a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, it's not. There's no moral backstory. It's just like, oh, everything I just went through was just vaguely annoying.
Request and receive. We are allies. We will lower defenses. You may return to your vessel.
Of course, the flip side is that if you fail the mission and don't force the alien guy to talk to you, then you get stuck in stasis with the rest of your people, and the aliens forget about you later.
Let's just say we've made an ally, but we have injuries.
Like, yeah,
We need to
we'll have
beam
to figure out what to
directly
do with these guys once we eventually get our colony established.
Well, hopefully they'd figure out what ship you came from and beam me back, I suppose.
Sickbay has the wounded. We're ready to beam you back now.
Acknowledged. Foster out.
But first, will you return our young? You're holding him away now.
It was a difficult mission, Monroe. It looked pretty bad out there for a while, but we got the job done. Have the doctor look at you and then join me in Hazard Ops. I'll be assembling the rest of the team for debriefing.
Yes, sir.
I don't care if your hemorrhoids are chronic. There
Yeah,
are
his
no
arms
medical
clasped behind his back, like a real Starfleet officer.
Did he just say hemorrhoids?
Yep.
What did the aliens do to him?
Doctor. Doctor?
Ah, Mr. Monroe. Your injuries seem to be rather superficial. Dermal regeneration will not be necessary. Though you have some mild skin irritation. Perhaps you would like an analgesic cream?
Whatever.
Hey, was that a first contact joke?
Tom.
Tomographic scans indicate a
What?
Well, this game came out
cream?
after First Contact.
Cranial bruising.
It's kind of interesting. It did a Voyager. This game come out kind of late for a Voyager game.
I believe the show was still going.
Okay.
You'll need an
Yeah, we got
At the time, but it was after First Contact.
Hi.
We find out.
Well, yeah, it's got to be after First Contact. If it's during the Voyager,
Because it had the revamp of the Borg in it.
Yeah.
Their new look.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Also, the I was thinking
And,
to some of
and 7 of 9, obviously, so it had come after season 4.
yeah, and when they first established Contact in Message in a Bottle, they had that one battle scene between them and the Prometheus and the Romulans, and that did also have Akira classes.
Not to mention that was during the Dominion War.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, that was the thing that always bugged me about the Prometheus episodes. Like, wait a second, why are the Romulans trying to steal a Federation ship?
Because it's freaking awesome.
Wheels within wheels.
Have you seen the
so-
Prometheus?
Yes.
So this was first released in September 20th of 2000, actually.
Deck 4, hazard operations.
Which puts it number puts it between seasons of Voyager.
Which ones?
Between season 6 and season 7.
Okay.
Because Unimatrix Zero Part 1 was May of 2000, and Unimatrix Zero Part 2 was October of 2000.
Hey, Monroe.
And let's see, the episode of Voyager that's actually pretty similar to
Monroe.
this was...
We said season 5, wasn't it?
The Void in season 7.
Oh, season 7, okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're finished with that mission now, so I think this is probably a good time to end the show for the evening. So
There's Neelix!
Try being a betazoid on
There is
Vulcan,
Neelix.
where any hint of emotion is frowned.
Mighty Neelix.
Hey, Alex.
Just come from
who does not appear interested in
Excuse me?
talking to you.
So,
No.
how's
Wow,
the
he's a
Orlando
jerk.
cobbler?
Delicious, thank you.
I'm just coming to use your guys as replicators,
Mr. Chen,
because...
your carnalith stew?
Eyes are broken.
Great.
We had to
Thanks.
scavenge parts.
You know, you really didn't have to hand make all this for us.
Well, anyway, I think that's a good place to conclude
Well,
our
just because
live
you're
play of
doesn't mean-
Star Trek Elite Force. Obviously, it goes on for quite a number of more levels, but we've about hit our time limit for the evening. So we'll continue this in the future with other classic Trek games. Dragoon has a few more, and I have quite a few more. So we'll be able to fill in the gaps where we can. In any case, Dragoon, if you want to put up our contact information.
Okay. All right, we can be reached by email at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at Foundry Roundtab. Drogan can be reached at Drogan1701. Duncan can be reached at Gorgonops_SSF. Mark can be reached at Markhawkman. And I, of course, can be reached at Greendragoon.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on our trip down memory lane, and we will see you next time.
Night.
Yeah.
Good night.